Welcome to the road committee meeting of Tuesday, August 22nd. We started a half hour late. It's a little after 6:30. I think the first order on the, we don't have an agenda, but what we should do first is elect a chair. Do we have any nominations for a chair?
I nominate Cindy Hart.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor? So, you can vote for yourself.
Oh, okay, I'll
All right.
vote for me.
Cindy is now chair. I will pass the mic over.
Okay, well, we've been looking at bridges over the last few weeks, and I think it's kind of hard. This is something the road committee had done before and had worked on the canal bridge, and then things just sort of fell away. And I think it's time we step back up, because as I listen, it doesn't seem, Dave pointed out that the road commissioners both have their own businesses. They are busy. They don't really have the time to do the sort of things that we did. And one would be chasing down everything on these bridges. And I think for a 1, 2, 3, I've got a different 1, 2, 3 than what we heard. One, it's got to be cleaned up and cut out. Has anybody here had a chance to go down and look underneath the Hopper Road Bridge?
I went by it. It was sort of cleaned up, but I didn't go underneath the bridge. I didn't see how things were down below. It was just what I could see when I drove by.
I'd like to see that if somebody gets in touch. It would be either Public Service or CMP with that wire, depending on how they're now doing it. But I don't know if you noticed the wire with the big branch hanging right over that bridge. It's something about this big around, and it's dead. And I really don't think you want people working under it as much as possible. But the upstream side could be cleaned out. And when I looked at it and compared the report from 2015 that we got, the spalling on the concrete has gotten considerably worse in the last 2 years. And they hadn't looked at the downstream side, which is considerably worse. This is something that possibly could be addressed and repaired to hold it off a little bit longer. Once it's cleaned out down below, that you have a better chance to look at what's called the scouring. As stuff comes down off that dam and comes underneath, it brings debris. This hits the wings of the bridge, and it could undermine underneath. And there are some things we can do to hold this off. I think we all know that we're going to have to look at replacing it because the score is so low. This is just putting on a couple of Band-Aids to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
It could take 2 to 4 years for you to get a design even on a bridge. But with the local bridges, of course, they taught us that the first thing to do is get in touch with them. They have free advice available to us before we spend money on a survey or any more attorneys.
Oh,
Let's get their free guy down here
Yep.
to take a look at it and tell us what we have to do. And maybe the first thing is to start setting aside some money for it. And because it may not be now, maybe we'll get 5 years, we might get 10 out of that bridge if we maintain it.
Where does that free guy come from?
It comes from the DOT.
Okay.
And when they ran the class on this, they ran us through, the first half of the day was showing how, explaining how to read the various reports that come out. And another thing, when the reports come in, they've got to be, we need to keep them somehow. If something's happened, that these reports appear to be lost. And I would suggest that they go down in the planning board department, because they deal more with land use. They've got a file cabinet we could use, and if this stuff is down there, I think it'll be easiest for us to access.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is the dams. I don't know who looked at the dam above the Hopper Road Bridge, but it has water running through the rocks below it. It also now has the break in the top.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was going to chase that, but I think that's something, again, this committee could better handle.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go with whatever we used to be assigned duties by the selectmen, and then go take a look at it, like deal with the bridges, which we did.
So, it was determined that the state of New Hampshire owned the dam that's broken. And so I think Jen was gonna call somebody.
Yeah,
Wasn't
did-
she?
She referred it to David.
Oh, okay, she referred it to David.
So, I mean, this is again,
And he
they don't
went on
really have the
vacation,
time.
yeah. they-
Yeah, and so we keep putting things off.
That should be,
putting things off.
whoever owns that bridge should be notified that that crack is there.
That's the dam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the dam, I mean.
Bill Shields used to do the dam.
That shouldn't have passed off, that shouldn't have been passed off. As soon as it was brought to the attention last Saturday, it was put up on the website from, I don't know who, that there was cracks there. And then, one of the Board of Selectmen acknowledged that message on the website. That Monday morning, the state of New Hampshire should have been called.
Well, that's what.
And passing the, well, you call them, that's a critical situation there. If
Yeah.
that bridge, if that dam went, that bridge is going, and Milton Mills is going with it too. There's a lot of water sitting behind that dam.
Oh, there really is, and
There
it would
is.
certainly change.
I don't know.
Flat Ground Road would be.
That
very
crack,
different.
that crack could be fine for 100 years, or it could be fine for 2 weeks, who knows? Somebody who knows what they're looking at should take a look at that bridge. I mean, the dam, I keep saying the
Yeah,
dam.
the dam. I'll check on that.
Yeah,
I don't think
See who's,
personally that the dam's, the road commissioner's responsibility.
No.
No.
I think it belongs to the Board of Selectmen.
right.
And I lose track of time, but when they rebuilt that dam, I'm gonna say 20 years ago, I'm trying to think of my kids, maybe it was 25 and 30 years ago, they did all three of them. And that's when Gordon King run the power cable down there, which I don't understand. The price of metal, why nobody ever pulled that back out of the river, because it's probably a mile of cable that's in the base of the river.
And what's that there for?
They were, when they redid the dams, they were going to generate power from them. And
The
the
water,
person that was involved, his company went belly up, and then nothing ever come out of it.
yeah.
As far as that bridge, we used to have a reporter in town for the Sanford News back in the 70s, and he brought to the selectmen's attention the condition of that bridge underneath. And that's over 40 years ago, and he believed that it was gonna let go at any moment.
And this is 40 years later.
And I do believe it needs to be fixed, and it should be fixed. There's two problems with that the towns cause themselves by not doing any maintenance on the bridge. For many years, they used to seal the cement on that bridge. And I'm gonna say every 4 or 5 years, and they haven't done it for at least 20 years. And the amount of salt that is used on the roads now, salt's the worst thing you can have for concrete. When I worked down to the school, I never put salt on those sidewalks down there. And I also sealed them every 3 years. And there's I don't want to pick on the school, but where they have a lot of cement down there, you can see the walks where they deteriorated a lot because they weren't sealed and maintained like they used to be. And that's the problem with that bridge. And on the top of the bridge, all that scaling is all from salt. All of it. And you look at the trees if you really look, when you go down the Hopper from the flat ground road down, and the amount of pine trees and different trees that have died, and even out on the river, there's a lot of tamaracks out there that have died. What we're doing as a community, and what other communities are doing, is very detrimental to the dam, the bridge, etc. And I don't want to get off into the environment, because that's not why we're here, but the town has, to me, shirked their responsibility to maintain this stuff. Way back when the car got in an accident down there and broke off part of the bridge, the town should have filed a thing claim with the insurance company and fixed it properly. And they just left it. And then
Did a
when
car
they-
hit that, or was that hit by a wing on a
No,
plow?
that was a car.
Yeah.
And then when David Winchell got elected road commissioner, he put that metal guardrail up there so that nobody would end up down in the water like they always did every 4 or 5 years. So, the thing is with these bridges, even with the roads, I've said this for over 20 years, you have to have a maintenance plan. If you have at least a 5-year maintenance plan, then you can apply for grants through the state and the federal government for all the road projects, whether it's bridges or rebuilding roads or whatever it is. And then you can do these jobs, instead of putting a Band-Aid on the roads, you can rebuild a road. And if you look at the north end of town, and look at the south end of town, a lot of the north end of the town was state aid roads. The Acton Bridge was all state aid. Quite a bit of the H Road, Goose Pond Road. There's quite a few sections, and the roads are pretty good, and Scott does a very good job maintaining them with his paving. But he doesn't have to do the work on the roads that David has to do on the south end of town. Most of the Sanborn Road was state aid, and they rebuilt a lot of that right down to just about to Judy's house. Then when the state gave back all these roads, they fixed them all, except for the old 109, well, San Pedro now. They fixed them all as part of the agreement for the town to take them back. And that's why Scott's roads are a lot easier to maintain, because they get a lot better base underneath them than what they do on the south end of town. And this is why this plan is so important, because you take this mile of road that David's working on now from the flat ground road down to the dam, that's about a mile of road. I am not criticizing by any stretch of the imagination the job he's doing, okay? There is no base under that road. There is no base. There's sand, and under that sand is black dirt. In that black dirt, there are stumps, there's wood, there's brush that people put in there for many, many years, so they could get through the road in the spring. Now, myself personally, I remember when that wasn't hot top. And unless you put a bait, you rebuild the road so you get a good base, you're saving money in the end. And we need a plan so that we can get this grant money. Now, the state said a few years ago on the Milton Mills Road, it's $1 million a mile to rebuild the road.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, that's a mile of road from the flat ground road to the dam. Between the state and the federal government, the way things are looking like, it shouldn't look like, if it ends up the way they believe it's gonna look like, with this infrastructure money, there's gonna be a lot of grants, big grants.
That's right.
In a place like down there where David's working now, where that's all resource protection, and next to the water, the grants would even be easier, I would think, to get through the federal government to kind of protect the environment at the same time and done properly. And like I said, I'm not saying David isn't doing a good job, because he does well with the money he has to work with. But I think that we ought to start spending money a little smarter. And the only way you can do it smarter is by having plans.
Yes, you do need a plan, and it starts with a good road inventory. And,
I mean, when I went down to the school, because I had a plan, I got 3 different grants down there. One to update the lighting, which saved us a huge amount of money, paid for itself in 5 years, and that was almost a $30,000 project. To fix the roof on the 78 building and the 57 building, it had asbestos on it and this and that. And that really cost us minimal amount of money. And the other one was to remove the asbestos in the school. We couldn't have got any of those without a plan, because that's one of the first things they ask you.
yeah.
Part of this
So I think that's
Well,
very important for
I was just gonna say, in an effort to recreate the road committee chaos was it the spring that we tried to meet?
Yes,
Let's try to focus on one thing at a time. And right now, I feel like it's the bridges.
I do too.
And then maybe the next time you meet, you have an agenda. This is how much we're gonna spend on this. This is how much we're gonna spend, have like a time frame to talk about road inventory that leads into maintenance plans. But to try to keep a time frame on the subjects that we need to work with.
I mean, the maintenance plan, working.
Well,
with
it's
road
pretty much
commissions
spelled out right
is
here.
Something that,
Maintaining local bridges, this is all spelled out. There's work that we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And the DOT knows how to deal with this, and they have provided us the free information, and we've got to take advantage of that first.
but there's two different things there, Cindy. You have the plan, and then you have the other part, the construction part. You know what I mean? The plan is just a plan, and it's very general. And every one of these maintenance plans, different things fall by the wayside, because some emergency comes up and you gotta do this instead of this, just like we're doing it now. And I think they both work together. I really do, because I honestly don't believe that you're gonna be able to get any funding for the bridges unless you have a maintenance plan. And we can't afford to do that road dam bridge down there. Number one, it's in the wrong spot.
Well, it's got to be
It's
re-engineered.
dangerous. It's gotta be re-engineered. It's
We
gotta-
know, we know that.
Nothing any of us can do, but you gotta have
No.
a plan before you can go forward.
Exactly.
And the road commission's a very integral part of making that plan.
Well, I don't know that either of them has ever designed a bridge before, or the approaches
No,
to
no.
it, and this you need an engineer for. And
I
we get a
understand that,
free
but-
one right here.
But,
So,
the plan is different, though, is what I'm saying, Cindy.
What does the plan look like?
A plan, all a plan really is, at least in my experience, was this year, we're going to repave the hopper and change so many culverts. And next year, we're gonna do the Sanborn Road and do whatever, that ditching and whatever. And we're gonna reclaim this road over here and just put some skinny mix on it or something. And it's really very general. It isn't any fine-tuned thing. And like I said, I had one down to the school. Fact is, when Gloria was there, I thought she said a 10-year plan, and so that's what I did, and it was very hard. And she kind of laughed at me because I should have listened to her better. But it's amazing if you really think about it, how close you really are when things is, Jesus, this here broke, this circulator pump, and I said, I have to replace 2 circulator pumps out here. And I wrote that 4 years before, and it just worked out. So, in budgeting, at least with the school board, it was always a lot easier with the townspeople because you had a plan, and they knew up front what it's gonna cost. I mean, the roads have taken quite a beating, and I guess I'll accept the blame. Years ago, because when I was selectman, we cut the paving out of the budget, and it was supposed to be for a one-year thing. And it never came back to where it should be. It's at least $150,000 short from what it should be. What they spend over in Shapley is 3 times more than what we spend over here for about the same amount of roads. And you look at their roads, they are a lot better than ours. And the road commissioners take a hit over some of these roads because they really don't have the money to fix them right. They really don't. So I think, as part of the road committee, I think this is what we need to do, working with at least this is my opinion, I don't know what other people think, is we need to work with the road commissioners to come up with some kind of a plan and a budget to say to the people, this is what we're looking at next year, year after year after year after. So that when you increase the tax rate by 65 cents, this is part of it. This is what the people voted, this is why. And it's not up to, I mean, I couldn't tell you where the road commissioners were gonna work this year. I know Davey planned on doing that lower part of the hopper last year, but as things worked out, it never happened. So I think the plan is very, very important, and I think that's one of the first things we should work on.
Why don't we further investigate the bridges first?
Yeah.
Touch base with, there are 2 towns involved and 2 states. Touch base with them. When I was trying to collect the new reports, I spoke to the town administrator over in Milton and the assistant town administrator over in Wakefield. In Milton, they've got $1 million bridge they're building now, so that is a problem for them. But they really haven't looked into this, and I think chances of us getting much support from them on this bridge at this point are not going to be good. It's a 500-car-a-day bridge. However, most of that traffic is us getting over there, not them coming here.
We own that bridge, right?
We own half of it.
Half of it.
Half of it. That one goes to the middle of the river. The canal bridge goes to our side, goes to the main side, and we're responsible to the approach for that one, which is pretty good. But again, somebody's got to get back in touch with Wakefield and the state of New Hampshire, and I thought this was a road committee thing because
Right.
we have more time.
It
And
would be nice
this
if-
has gone, a couple of months not getting this.
If we could find who that contact person is, and when Dave schedules the appointment with the engineer, Ben Foster, maybe that person will be available to actually have.
Yeah, I don't know
all
that Ben
parties there.
Foster is your engineer.
Oh, what is he?
He's head of the bridge division, but he's not your he's not gonna be who's coming down here to inspect
okay.
it.
I thought that's who he was calling.
Yeah, he was, but, well, if you'd like, I can check into this. I think Ben
So Ben-
Foster's been called by a couple of different people. He's head of all the bridges.
Oh, so
He's not the inspector necessarily
He would be the
that's
contact
gonna
person to
be.
find the engineer, or the
Yeah,
inspector.
well, you'd
okay.
call the office and find out who's inspecting here. We get inspected in odd years in this district, you'd find out who was inspecting, and this is what I've wanted to do, and find out when they're coming, so that we can get down there. I've taken the class, Scott's taken the class. We have a better chance of understanding probably what he's talking about. And anybody else, I think on the road committee should be there too, if possible, so that we're all aware of the problems and where to go from there.
Now that you were talking about the Department of Transportation would send someone for free to consult us on how to go forward.
It's right here. Engineering assistance from Maine DOT. Municipal officials may request engineering advice on maintenance, repair, reconstruction, and replacement of their bridges on public ways. Assistance may include suggestions, recommendations, methods of accomplishing the work, and sketches. In addition, field guidance is available either from the Bridge Maintenance Office or the local regional office. There's a lot of help out there. We've
Let's
just got to
contact-
tap
let's-
into it.
Let's
This is
contact
free.
them.
We're not paying lawyers, we're
Right.
not paying surveyors.
Okay.
Let's
And-
contact them, and the thing we can do is, once we get that kind of information, then we can go to Milton Mills, and we can go to Wakefield, and say, we have to deal with these. They don't want to deal with either one of those bridges because they're not important to them.
Well, I think Wakefield, it's important, because that's the canal bridge, and that's right down by the boat launch.
Yeah,
So I think
okay.
Wakefield is
Yeah.
going to have more, and plus, that'll be a state of New Hampshire thing.
That's the
a
incentive
span.
for them,
Yeah,
yeah.
But they have, I might be wrong, but I believe that Wakefield got that under the historical
yes, they did, we did. Both towns worked together on that.
tag, so that's a Keystone Bridge.
Yeah.
So,
We're not rebuilding that, Dennis. The plan is for a span.
Now, are you going to leave that bridge as a historical
It is
artifact?
historical, and the state of New
Right.
Hampshire had a plan for,
It'll be a pedestrian bridge.
no, it will be,
Just
there'll be
go
a span.
over it.
They're going to span
Not
it.
gonna touch
Oh.
anything.
They're going to send people
Oh,
in
okay.
underneath to fix the rock work,
Okay,
stonework. They'll rebuild all of that,
wow,
and then span it, so we don't have traffic going over it and beating it up.
right.
seven or
cool.
7 or 8 years ago, Wakefield wanted to work with Acton on that. And the biggest problem with that is, like you say, the span. And Acton dropped the ball on it.
Yeah,
And
Well, let's
just
pick
fell
it up.
by- Fell by the wayside.
let's pick it up.
That's it. I think if we concentrate on the two bridges, that's doing a lot.
And with the Hopper Bridge, if we can start, get the DOT guy down here to give us those suggestions, we'll have that paperwork. We can
Sure.
go to Milton Mills, and that may incentivize them to talk to the state of New Hampshire about the dam.
See, like I said.
That sort of thing can get the ball rolling.
Sure it
The
can.
trouble is with the town of Milton is they got that bridge that they had to close.
Yeah, and they've got another one too that they have to replace. They've got two bridges in
So
trouble.
they're really, I'm glad that I don't live down there because I don't want to pay the taxes now.
It's a nice little town, though.
Well, what do you say? Should we check into these and schedule a meeting and
Yeah.
go this far?
It seems to me that been bouncing around on the bridges for years
Yes.
and just running into brick walls.
Is
And
this contact person the same contact person that Dave is gonna end up going through, or
I
are
don't
they
know
different?
that Dave is, that familiar with who to contact.
Well, I think he was planning to call Ben Foster back and say, hey,
Yeah,
when are you
well-
going to inspect, and
Well, you want